Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Here's my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandro Luketic. And today we're talking 1991's Suburban Commando. We assume if you're listening to this episode, you have already seen the movie. And this is our March listener pick. Oddly enough, from our producer, Craig.
No.
It's not from producer Craig.
It's not from... Well, no, it's from Craig.
Our producer.
Craig is not our producer. I'm the producer.
Producer Craig won the Twitter poll of Suburban Commando. And I'm going to tell you what perfectly lined me up for this movie today. I was having a rough go, so I decided I was going to be productive. So I started cleaning. I cleaned like my room. I cleaned the kitchen, dishes, did a bunch of laundry and everything. And as soon as I finished making my bed, fresh linen on it and everything, the cat jumped up onto it and shit all over it. And that made me ready to talk about this movie.
I have determined that our audience that follows us on Twitter hates us.
Oh yeah, undeniably. And to that I say, fucking bring it. I'll dish shit on anything you give us, motherfuckers. I got this.
No, don't call them
Sandro,
out.
not so much, but I say bring it.
Okay, so non-producer Craig nominated this movie. It won the Twitter poll. Do you know this is our 5th fan pick from Craig?
Oh, God, it's so depressing. And I think it might be rigged. If the producer's getting this many picks,
he's
something's
not
up.
The producer.
I sense an uprising.
And again, once the entries are in, we make a Twitter poll. And this was maybe one of the most one-sided ones we've had.
I couldn't believe it. It was a landslide. And you're right. This means they hate us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, as usual, I submitted the form of questions to, Craig being the fan pick, because we kind of have that for all of them. And he gave us a very, very brief answer as to why he selected this movie for us, as is his tradition to have relatively short answers. He wrote, "I looked for a vintage movie from the 90s that contained Hulk Hogan."
And this is what he came... Okay, yeah, actually.
I mean, think about it. What other options did he really have that were going to be that much better?
Mr. Nanny.
I mean, I'd say it's probably on par. There's a reason that his acting career did not take off, Ben. And it's not because he had one banger in there, and then the rest were terrible.
He's got some good ones, man. Sand with Muscles, I do have to say, is not a bad film. But there is something about this movie that stuck with me since I first saw it on VHS in 91. And I didn't realize what it was until a few hours ago.
Okay. Is that something you're going to share, or is that something for later on?
Oh, no, I'll get into it right now.
Okay.
I was looking at the cast and crew and what they had done previously and since. And the director, Burt Kennedy, if you look at his filmography, it makes perfect sense, the entire plot of this movie, why it looks and plays out the way it does. Burt Kennedy is known mainly for directing television and big screen westerns. And this story is a western through and through. A man on the run being followed by bounty hunters comes across a troubled family and tries to save them whilst defending himself from these bounty hunters, eventually defeating them and leaving the family better than when he found them, and then returning out to where he came.
Yeah, that sounds like a much better movie than what we got here.
Oh, this is exactly the movie we got here, and that's the best thing I can say about it.
This movie was written with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in mind.
Okay, that would have been better. You're right. That would have been a lot better.
Because I guarantee you, if they cast those two, the budget for the movie would have been higher. Because this movie 1991. I don't know if it was meant to be earlier and it got pushed back, but Predator was 1987.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks better in almost every way than this movie. I can't see Arnold and Danny DeVito in 91 being in something that looks this low budget.
Well, it's not really that low budget. We'll get into that later. But, I mean, you have to keep in mind, this is a family film. At least so we're told. There are issues there. We'll get to it.
Again, I still can't imagine it. Imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger in the initial scenes with all the CGI explosions.
Oh, I can easily.
Not even the Running Man, which was before Predator looked this bad. Seriously.
Well, since you're talking about this already, let's jump into the plot because this is where the movie starts.
Do we have to? Can we not delay it even further?
According to Craig, yes, we do. I'm being told get this shit on the go, Mason.
All right.
So, as you said, the film opens with the worst space battle ever captured on film. I guess it's really trying to knock off Star Wars, but is it? Or is it just a knockoff of the shitty knockoffs we got after Star Wars?
I don't know, man. I'm fairly confident that with no budget at all, I could probably sit down on my computer 10 years ago and come up with better special effects than this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I'm just going on the fact that it's meant mainly for kids, so they don't have to worry about focusing on like space explosions and whatnot. But then it gets kind of confusing for me because the next scene we get really isn't for children. And it's where we're introduced to General Suter, which is a terrible name. But he is the villain of our film. And he's taunting the captured President Hashina about his galactic domination. Hashina goes on a rant just tearing Suter apart, even going as far as calling him egotistical. And there's one line that makes me laugh a lot, and that is Suter going, "I don't think of myself as egotistical." Proud, maybe.
And the best part is, too, it's one of those like classic where he's like, you're like genocidal, like insane. And he has no problem with those terms.
Oh, yeah.
But then when he says egotistical, he's like, no, I take offense to that one. Yeah. The others, you got me. Yeah, hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. And this here, like, I sold him like, yes, a charismatic, funny villain. No, that's all we get from him for that. Other than that, it's just paint by numbers.
Hope you like that character because you won't see him again for another 110 minutes.
110 minutes? What movie did you watch? Jesus. This is extended director's cut nonsense you punished yourself with.
I meant an hour and 10 minutes.
We also get the introduction of Shep Ramsey, the one and only Hulk Hogan, in the dumbest looking armor I've ever seen. And what's with the headband?
It's Hulk Hogan, man.
We need to distract from the hairline.
That's been his MO since like mid-80s.
Yeah, normally it's the full bandana though. Not this thing that like moves with his brow when he looks confused. You've got this like distracting little headband jiggling on his face.
I mean, actors wear wigs, right?
Yeah, and he did later too. Somebody convinced him finally.
Like, would anybody really question it if he went into this movie with a shaved head, right? Or any sort of wig with a different hairstyle? Like, he's meant to be an outer space warrior.
If he shaved his head and got rid of that mustache, nobody would have watched this movie. That's his star power. Balding, long-haired, handlebarred mustache joke.
You're questioning the quality of the movies he's done and then saying that the skullet is his claim to fame. Think about it for a second, dude.
No, what I need to think about is the weird pseudo rip-off stormtroopers that all have fake ponytails.
At least what is up with that? Like stormtroopers.
Oh yeah, they don't hit shit. But like, I don't get it. Like, what is up with it? it makes no sense. It's not like Suitor has the same thing and it's all like an acknowledgement of their leader. They just have fake long blonde ponytails.
They were trying to be Hulk Hogan, which you won't see is under the helmet. That ponytail goes to nothing on the top.
Perfect. You're right. You got me on that one. But if they didn't have to rip off Star Wars enough, they decided to rip off Back to the Future with the music. Every time that comes in, I just think of, again, Christopher Lloyd movie, where the music is used better, bigger and better. And there's one thing you have to look out for in a Hulk Hogan movie, and that is Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And I expected him, since he's a wrestler, to be one of the bounty hunters, much like another wrestler we'll get to later. But he's not. He's just one of two henchmen that Hogan chokes out at the beginning. And I only caught it the last view I saw, where I was like, I pointed and screamed at the TV. I was like, Beefer! I caught him. This guy is the worst actor ever. He has no lines and maybe 2 seconds of screen time. I'm like, I could have done that better. So, Shep gets held at gunpoint because I guess our hero just gets caught. That's how it is. Not the first time either. Like, he's not a good hero. But it's President Hashina throwing what looks like a metal envelope.
Yeah, like a giant credit card.
Yeah, it's like a giant, flat, sharp metal credit card that just chops off one of Suitor's hands.
Yes.
And
he needed saving.
I guess. But it's what happens afterwards, like the weird lizard claw that grows out of the stump. That really made me think, what age group is this for? Because we've already had banter that makes no sense to children. Then we get a kind of a cool shootout and some more bad acting. And then we get dismemberment. Again, I would say a nod to Star Wars, but, you know, the bad instead of the good. Shep then escapes in a pod. In a fury, blows the power console of his ship and then finds out he has to lay low on Earth for 6 weeks to charge it.
Man, you skimmed over that very quickly.
Do you want to dwell on it?
Yeah. All right. So, going way back, I knew that we were in trouble as soon as he got to the elevator on the ship. And the best one-liner they could think of was going up, let me help you, as he lifts one of the soldiers' heads through like the ceiling of the elevator.
It's the double lift.
It's terrible. Only one of them actually like penetrates the ceiling, though, which is funny.
Well, the thing is, he grabs two guys by the neck and slams them both into the ceiling, but only one of them has a hatch above him. So that guy takes the break by getting that hatch above him. The other guy just his skull rammed into the ceiling of the elevator.
And then to double down on the terrible attempts at one-liners, he then climbs into the elevator and just says going down as he cuts it down the chute to take out the ones that are coming from behind him. This is bad. This is really bad.
And we even get a callback to it later.
So what we should point out is that he's setting charges in the ship with the intent to blow it up. Obviously, it's not just a rescue mission.
Well, he doesn't rescue anybody.
He doesn't even try. Like, this like metal credit card cuts off the hand of General Suitor, which is then used to like pick up I don't even remember what his name is, the president by the neck. Would have been so much better if it was like a force choke. And Hulk Hogan's reaction is, I'm out of here. Yeah. Like, doesn't even try to stop it. He just dives through a vent and gets out of there.
Thanks, dude. And just runs away.
Escapes on the ship, at which point he gets, I don't know if this is supposed to be like his commanding officer, I guess, Zanuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's asking him in the worst sarcasm ever for another mission, right? And he's like even rolling his eyes like giant insects that explode. And it's like, do you actually want that? Because it doesn't sound like you do. Your delivery is that of sarcasm, but your character is seemingly desperate to actually get another mission. I don't understand what you're going for here, Hulk. And then when Zanuck tells him, like, yo, you're a step behind. You're stressed out. The old Shep wouldn't have let the president die. In that maybe he would have done something instead of turning tail. And you should relax. And I'm ordering you to slowly recharge your ship. And he, in response to being told is stressed out, slams the console and breaks the power unit.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because as the ship that he escapes explodes, he's, I guess, in a panic trying to level out this escape pod as it's spinning. And he's like, come on. No actual sense of urgency in his voice. And eventually pushes the button that stabilizes the escape pod. Because apparently the whole reason it wasn't prior was just because he wasn't pushing the button. This ship is made of paper mache.
And it's this entire intro that made me like contemplate the choice of title for the film. I was like, Suburban Commando. Okay, I get the part. He's in the suburbs. Then you look up Commando. And it's like a member of the military, part of a military troop who specializes in hit and run missions, mainly for rescuing. He just hit and run. No rescuing. He just shows up, announces himself, sets bombs, escapes.
Yeah.
Perfect. This is a kid's movie.
Did you see that when they were offering this movie to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, it was called Urban Commando?
No, I didn't put any extra time into this garbage.
So the original working title, when it was supposed to be Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, was Urban Commando. This is years after Arnold made Commando.
Oh,
could you imagine if he actually took this role and you heard the name Urban Commando with Arnold and you thought, maybe this is a sequel and this is what you got? I'd be livid.
I mean, it would be along the same lines as like Jingle All the Way, really.
Which is a sequel to what?
Jungle All the Way.
That's what I mean. Like the title's too close to Commando. If they just added Urban to it and had Arnold in it, that it would cause confusion.
No, this would be terrible with Arnold and DeVito.
I've put way too much thought into this. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I know. I do have to say, too, I keep calling this movie garbage. I really did enjoy it, just for the wrong reasons.
So, okay, at this point, it is determined that Shep has no choice but to go to Earth and recharge at a 6-week pace. And at that time, Zanuck is telling him to relax. At which point, I thought he said Earthites. I wish he said Earthites, because it would have been funnier to me, but I guess he says Earthlings.
He does, yeah.
I hate Earthlings, which makes me wonder, what is he?
Well, if he's not from Earth, I want to know what his previous encounters with Earthlings were. Because they're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. So he's been to Earth before.
All right.
Oh my God, that means prequel. Sign him up for a prequel.
No. So then, of course, he goes to Earth, which I'm guessing the reason that that's the case is because it was probably the closest to where he was. And his ship just nosedives into a building after it slowly hovers into the atmosphere. And clearly falls behind whatever, like, sculpture they got set up for this building. Because these special effects are barely that.
Oh, yeah. But it's also like he lands in a club called the Landing Pad. I got a good chuckle at that every time I watched it.
Well, you know, he does need the power, so his first response is to just destroy the breaker on the wall and pull out the wires.
But this happens all after we're introduced to the Wilcox family.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because we start off with the worst song ever, which is a weird hip-hop song with Hogan doing vocals.
Yes.
Penny Wilcox, played by Shelley Duvall, demands that her architect husband Charlie, played by Christopher Lloyd, asks for a raise. Even puts him in a chokehold. Like, she's definitely running the household.
No question, this guy has no backbone.
And this is Shelley Duvall. Like, I only really know her from The Shining and Popeye. This is not normally that really strong character that you see.
I mean, after this moment, she doesn't really seem like a strong character.
No.
But, okay.
At the office, Charlie rehearses his speech, but chokes when he goes in and talks to his boss, Adrian, played by Larry Miller, who is fantastic.
Oh, instantly recognizable and in so many good things.
Most notably for me is the dad from 10 Things I Hate About You. But I have a note here that just says, explain Adrian. Fast talking, schmoozing, over the top, over the hill, Ryan Reynolds. I think that fits him perfectly. Because he's got the comedic timing. His jokes come out of nowhere, but he's charming and an asshole at the same time.
He flat out makes it look like he's reading a file off the computer.
Oh, he doesn't make it look like he's reading. He is reading the file.
he's like, oh, how's your kids? Still allergic to tuna, I see? And the best part is, and this part actually made me chuckle, he doesn't even try to hide it because he says, you ask yourself, why does he care? Why does he care enough to look this up? He flat out says, it's like, wait, you want congratulations for admitting that you had to look up these minute details about your, like, presumably right-hand man that you're abusing.
But he also shows him the crystals, which become important later in the film. But I don't know what they are or why he has them.
So he says, like, pure simian crystal, and I guess that's foreshadowing because it's important later. But it's one of these conversations that, like, if these guys are working together every single day, he knows what these crystals and awards are. Like, does he go into the office every day and Adrian's just like, look at my awards? It's like, we did this all last week. I know you have the awards. There's like 8 annual awards here. I know.
And even with, like, going back to the crystals, the simian crystals, every time I looked it up, it just refers to, like, apes or monkeys. So I don't get it. But then Shep, of course, crashes the ship in the landing pad. And you said he ripped out the cables from that power box.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to power his ship.
Yes.
Why rip them out of the wall?
I don't know. He's stupid.
Then we cut to a traffic scene, which I, to this day, don't understand. The whole thing is Charlie and everybody else in morning traffic rushing to get into what we assume is Los Angeles, like downtown Los Angeles. And they all stop at a line on the road, as you do. You follow road markings. But they're like 60 feet away from the lights. And there's no crossroads going through. So that stopping point makes no sense. But they're all revving their engines like it's a giant race to make it through. See who gets through first, like the lane's narrow or something. But they don't. So the light changes. They all floor it. And within a couple of seconds, the light hits amber. Everyone speeds up even faster except for Charlie, who slams on his brakes, almost causing an accident. But he's so committed to following road rules, throws it in reverse and backs up and waits again.
I think this is, first of all, nonsensical. But second of all, it's just meant to reinforce that he has no spine. He's not even willing to, when he's partway through the intersection, go. And I'm fairly certain this is his way home from work. So we're just compounding that, he went to the office and didn't even, like, attempt to ask for the raise because he got smooth talked out of there.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you're right. This is
dejectedly says to the secretary, like, she's like, you struck out? He's like, I didn't even get up to bat.
My question, if he floors it and can't make it to the intersection, but follows the rules of the road, how does he get past the light?
Well, that's just it. He's halfway through the intersection. You should go through. You shouldn't be backing up.
He hasn't even hit the intersection yet.
I don't know, man. I don't
so
know.
If he's following those rules, he's stuck at that light forever.
It's just meant to reinforce that he has no backbone, but it's done in a terrible, terrible way.
Right. Logic. Suburban Commando. Got it. Thanks, Craig. Shep wanders suburbia. People mock him, are afraid of him. My favorite being the shopkeeper with a broom. He's like, where did you come from? Go away from here. Wow. All right. And then he sees a woman who's lost her money in the RC Cola machine, and she's like furious. She's yelling at it and kind of like slapping it. So he just runs over, or no, he doesn't run over. He slowly like pushes her away from it and just lays a haymaker into it, which causes change to flow out.
Yes.
But if you watch, there's really nothing coming out of there, and people just bum rush it and just start scooping up coin. Like, how much is coming out of there?
He broke the whole thing, all of the money, all of it.
Yeah, it looks like it hasn't been emptied in years.
Yes. Then
walking along the sidewalk further, he sees a dog, a muzzled dog that's in a car in the direct sunlight, windows rolled up, and then he hears somebody off to the side yell at the dog to be quiet. Turns around and sees this dude who is not dressed well enough to be eating where he's eating. And then, in a ha-ha family movie moment, swaps places with the dog and the man. So the dog's eating the food at the table, and the man has a muzzle and is stuck in a hot car.
And he takes the man's clothes.
Takes the man's clothes and basically leaves him to die. Which nobody else seems to care about whatsoever.
Just before they wrote this scene, they watched The Terminator. And they're like, what's a really cool way to get him out of his futuristic looking clothing and into normal clothing? And this was the best they could come up with. I just imagine some guy with a pen just emphatically slapping a period at the end of that line. Nailed it.
Or he's so infatuated with what he's seeing. He's like, and then Shep walks up to man at restaurant table, says, what does he say? I got it. I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Wait. Fuck! No, let's,
the dog is stuck inside with rolled up windows of a motorcycle?
Just cut it. We'll put the dog at the table. It's a truck, muzzled man, belted to the inside of the car, and he dies, but we don't tell them. Kids movie, right? Perfect.
Comedy.
Oh, you want comedy? This is what we get next. When Hogan walks up to a telephone pole and sees a sign that says apartment for rent with an arrow.
No details. No phone number, no address,
no address, nothing.
Nothing. No cost, which even if it did have a cost, I don't know how he would afford it. How does he pay his rent?
Well, the thing is, too, he takes the poster off of the pole and then follows the arrow, which is pointing one direction, and then turns and walks down another street where the arrow is not pointing and eventually finds his way.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we get to that, Charlie finally somehow made it through the intersection and comes home, but he can't pull into the driveway because of the neighbors who are working on like some dragsters and some racing cars, and they're parked along the side of the street and blocking his driveway. He eventually just parks across the street, gets out of the car, and as he's crossing the street, almost gets run over by a speeding car that's driven by two stoners. And this is where we meet one of my favorite characters, the Colonel.
The Colonel, who's barely in the movie.
Barely in the movie, but he's got this demilitarized Jeep that's just stuck in his front yard that's turned into like a half garden flower pot thing. And he just sits out there in his fatigues with his helmet on, just getting wasted and commenting on what he sees in the neighborhood.
I love it, too, because he's talking about the scenario that he just saw, and he's waving his drink glass around.
Oh, yeah.
Splashing his alcohol everywhere. And then as Charlie walks away, you see him go to lift the cup to his mouth, and there's nothing left because he'd waved it all out.
And it was a full glass.
And he just kind of looks at it like, oh, it's gone. Like, it was such good work by Jack Elam.
Well, he kind of looks at it. One eye goes to one side of the glass and one eye goes off into the other yard, which I'm not making fun of him for having a vision issue, but this is intentionally made to be a sight gag, no pun intended.
And it is hilarious.
It is, though. It is.
And the movie has now peaked. So Charlie goes inside, and his wife has decided to cheer him up from, I guess, what she knew would be a lousy day.
Yeah, he didn't sound too keen on the phone, so she sexed herself up with a ridiculous wig.
That's a lot of hair on that wig.
It is. It's a lot of hair, yeah. But
I did find their interaction a little bit charming.
Oh, it is. It always is.
Because he's like, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm just not in the mood. But thanks anyway. Like, thanks for trying to cheer me up. And she's like, no problem. Like they
love each other.
For all of the issues with this movie, Shelley Duvall and Christopher Lloyd have a very subtle, charming, chemistry between the two of them that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Yep. It's probably one of the most perfect roles for her to play. I've seen her in other things too, where she tries to go a little bit over the top and it just doesn't work. And after seeing behind the scenes stuff from The Shining, where Kubrick just tore her apart and just burnt her down, tore her down over and over and over, making her do the same scenes like 120 times, telling all of the cast and crew, don't be nice to her, she doesn't deserve it. And she's crying and he just broke her down. So giving her a role like this where she's allowed to do what she wants with it, and she comes across very charming, like you said. It's really nice to see, and it's really played up, because normally when we look at Christopher Lloyd, what do you think when you think Christopher Lloyd?
Doc Brown.
Exactly, completely over the top. So seeing these two brought down a bit to where they can just play the characters with the emphasis that they feel necessary, and it actually gels, is really cool. So great job for both of them in this.
The most complimentary thing I can say about the two of them, specifically when they're interacting with one another, is that I can see their relationship being believable in an otherwise unbelievable movie.
Yes, yeah, perfectly.
With so much of the absurdity that happens in this, I look at them and I'm like, I could believe that they're a couple that genuinely care about each other and support one another and have some fun with it.
Yeah.
So anyway, his reaction to her sexing herself up is that he wants to go to his shed and hit things with a hammer. It's like, dude, you had an opportunity to hit her with your hammer.
Oh. I don't want to think about that. Oh, God. No, I'm thinking way too many Back to the Future jokes now.
I just stopped the podcast in its tracks. You're welcome.
There's like a gigawatts joke in there somewhere. All right. But the workshop, the shed, has been turned into an apartment. So they don't have to worry about him getting a raise. They can just rent out the apartment and take the rent to supplement their income. And as shitty as that place is, I've lived in worse places, really.
Absurdity aside of this movie, genius idea and an amazing move by a caring spouse. Yes, he loves his shed, but if he doesn't want to ask for the raise, she comes up with a solution to their money issues.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she did that in one day. That's really impressive.
Well, this is a very realistic movie, so she worked very hard that day.
But I mean, if you think about it, it's like, yeah, that's a stand-up wife right there.
Oh yeah, she's looking out for her family.
Yeah,
much more than he is.
But she's also again, the whole family. She's looking out for them because she's finding that additional source of income that they require. Mm-hmm. But she's also looking out for him because she knows how stressed he is about all of this and how difficult it is at his job. And she's stepping up. But I don't even know what else to say about it.
Who are they going to get to rent it?
Somebody with no money.
Who just
Which will not solve their problem
it
at all.
doesn't solve anything. This guy somehow, like, Shep arrives, rings the doorbell, wanting to rent the apartment. Don't know how the fuck he figured out where the house was. There's no sign out front. He's been carrying this piece of paper around. He already took a wrong turn, which apparently was a right turn, so that doesn't make any sense. And what happens? As soon as Charlie opens the door, for some reason he looks down when he answers the door, and then looks up, I guess, to emphasize the height of Hulk Hogan. And then he's just like, honey. He's like, honey, it's for you. He just shrugs off. He's like terrified. He's like, this is my wife's problem.
Later in the movie, when they're standing near each other, they're not even that different in height.
No.
Clearly in muscle mass, but not in height.
Although right after this scene is probably one of the funniest scenes for me when I was a kid. When they're like discussing if they should allow him to stay and blah, blah, blah. And they turn around as they're making dinner and Shep's just standing in the living room holding the kids in the air. He's like, these yours? And they're just, I don't know how they did it. Like, they definitely had wires or something that they edited out. But the kids are just dangling, feet dangling. Excuse me. Definitely one of my most memorable scenes from the trailer. But that immediately sells the kids on Shep. So they love him already.
Why would he question if two children living in the same house as the people that he's renting from are theirs?
I don't know.
These your kids? No, they're just a couple neighborhood kids we keep locked up here.
We're going to try and rationalize things and give some logic to this film and then realize that it just doesn't work.
This movie, to show my hand, is terrible, and I'm just trying to have fun with it however I can. All right?
Yeah. We'll have fun with the dinner scene where they try and like question Shep where he's from, and he says he's from France. Yeah. Nothing.
He's very polite, though. I mean, is it okay if I have some more? Sure. And the whole time, Charlie's staring at him like, oh, this is Neanderthal living in our apartment. What has he done? Other than be big, what has he done?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And, like,
if this scene happened after the next one, then I would understand.
That would make sense. It's like they wrote down scenes and just kind of shuffled them in a deck of cards. And they're like, I guess this makes sense.
The original script was being carried by an intern as he was getting coffee and a gust of wind came by.
Oh, yeah.
He picked them all up as quickly as he could. He's like, I think this is how it goes. They didn't number the pages and just nobody double checked after.
Yeah, and director Burt Kennedy's like, this is the weirdest Western I've ever seen, but okay. Because after the dinner scene, we have suspicious Charlie waiting for Shep to leave that night. This is the first night, right?
Well, no, he's spying on him first, and he's watching him put away a gun under the mattress from his bag.
Yeah.
Or like a space gun.
Sure. And just leaves. Goes to sneak into the apartment. I don't know why he assumes Shep isn't just going to do something coming right back. But he starts rooting around, finds the gun under the mattress, fires it, figures it out somehow, but fires it through the lampshade, through the wall, and into one of the neighbor's cars. Okay.
Then red Hawaiian Tropics car.
Then we get an introduction of the bounty hunters. You want to talk about the bounty hunters at all?
No.
Me neither. I'm just going to say that one of them is played by Mark Calloway, the Undertaker.
It's definitely a dark spot on his career.
On everyone's career. Charlie gives himself a pep talk in the next scene about getting rid of Shep while he's shaving in the mirror. And I do have to say, man, there is no way there's a razor blade in that razor. There's no fucking way. As a bearded individual who's shaved for years, no one's that carefree with a razor against their face like that. Like, he's just whipping it along his cheeks. I'm like, yeah, I've done that. Then he gets to his chin. I'm like, Then he gets to his upper lip. I'm like, that's gone. Like, his nose is shredded at this point.
When he goes outside next, he should have just had like 10 different like spots of toilet paper just sitting on bloody spots.
Just missing like one of his lips.
Just completely hacked himself to bits.
Totally. But what does he see when he goes in the backyard after shaving?
Hulk Hogan is bench pressing his
he's not bench pressing. He's
just deadlifting.
Yeah, he's sitting down on the weight bench, just lifting a drill press with one arm and another piece of heavy machinery with another. And I've never seen anybody work out this way before, even with actual weights. Like, I'm not entirely sure what he's doing, but I guess it's just for a sight gag.
Yeah, because he's really strong.
And, God, I feel like a fucking idiot. Because as I'm describing it, I'm sitting here in my chair in front of my computer with my arms up to my side, my hands pointed toward the ceiling, and I'm just like pretending to lift a drill press. But Charlie leaves, and then Shep...
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not going to stand up to this guy. Charlie has no backbone, and he walks outside seeing him doing this. Yeah. I wouldn't question him either.
Oh, that's fine.
This is just keep doing what you're doing there, big guy.
This is a throwaway, because this is just for us to hear Penny screaming from inside as Shep runs in and saves her. And I'm surprised he held on to her, because it looked like she was going to hit the ceiling. She's screaming on the couch. He runs up behind her, grabs her under the arms, lifts her up where she could be standing upright and not touch any furniture whatsoever, and then basically slams her up behind the couch. But we find out she was watching a talk show, and she was taking advice about like screaming to release emotion and whatnot. Then did the doorbell ring?
No. Just mail is being put through the mail slot.
Yeah, that's not a fucking mail slot, man. That's a hole in the door with a plate covering it. Because that like a mail slot, you're just supposed to be able to slide like a small package or some letters through or some flyers. You could fit in your arm through this.
I'm pretty sure the mailman does. I think at one point when they cut to the mailman on the outside of the door before it busts open, his hand is or his arm is straight in that mail slot.
It is, because Shep grabs it and just tries to like pull him through it.
Yeah, and then pulls out a giant knife.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, mail slot's too big. Eventually, like, lets the guy go, his arm pulls through and he like runs away. And then it's the paper boy. After he's pulled the knife on the mailman who runs away, he gets hit in the face with a newspaper, and go for it. Like you seem to be enjoying this a lot more than me. Do you want to finish this part?
No, this is laughing hysterics.
Because Penny just tells him it's the paper boy, and basically like, calm down, don't worry about it.
It's Jenny, dude.
Oh, it's Jenny. Sorry, I don't know why I said Penny. Oh, it's because I wrote Penny. That's why. Anyway,
you said it a couple of times now. I thought maybe you just said it by accident.
No, I think it's autocorrect on here.
She pretty much tells him, like, that's just the paper boy, calm down, and then goes back inside.
Yeah.
At which point he decides to ignore what she said and hum the newspaper back at the paper boy. His acting is top notch here, because he doesn't even wait 3 seconds for any sort of like traveling of the newspaper. He just throws it and immediately upon release says, "Bullseye." Like, yeah. Okay.
Maybe he's just confident because he fucks that kid up real bad. But like I guess
comedy.
It's a family film, so it's like the sight gag of like the paper boy with his head stuck in a bush and he's just kind of like kicking his feet behind him. I don't know. I didn't need to see that, but like him launching that paper like out of pure anger was pretty funny, I do have to say.
I can't believe the paper boy hit him. If I saw a guy the size of Hulk Hogan brandishing like a 6-inch, 7-inch knife on the front door at the mailman,
yeah,
I'm not throwing a newspaper at that guy. He's threatening the mailman. I'm not safe.
No, seriously, dude, I swear that scene was not in the original script, and that Hogan had no idea that was going to happen. Like the paper hitting him in the face. I swear to God, he only knew about chasing the mailman off with the knife. And then the director just whipped a newspaper at him and hit him in the face. He got that reaction and just yelled, "Cut." And he's like, okay, this is what happens next, Hulk.
I mean, that's probably the only way they got a realistic reaction out of him. Because his acting ain't doing it.
The look on his face scared the shit out of me. Like,
Oh, keep going. This movie is terrible.
we get the skateboarding scene next.
Oh, okay. So here, in the background, as he's walking down the driveway towards these kids, you can see the neighbors with the cars opening the hood of a red Hawaiian Tropics vehicle. The exact same one that just got shot the night before by the space gun. No problems here. No issues.
I told you they shuffled this around, man.
Yeah.
Did you like the skateboarding scene where the kids show up and they're like, Mr. Ramsey, why don't you try?
No. Why would they?
Why would they do that?
First of all, how did they know his name?
Well, he's been around for a while, I guess.
Has he? Because it seems like it's the very next day.
I'm not going to try and explain the logic behind this movie.
Just based on all of the timelines we saw, this is the following day, and the kids already know his name and are like, oh, let's get the big guy to ride the skateboard. Why?
I don't know.
And of course...
I don't fucking know, man.
Of course, he falls on his ass. Probably the best bump he's taken in his entire career.
I don't know if you noticed, but he cracked the driveway.
Did he? I did not notice that. No.
Yeah. And then, in a fury, picks up the skateboard by the trucks and launches it into space.
That's the kid's skateboard, dude.
It's fine. Kid's an asshole.
For asking him to ride the skateboard?
But yeah, they laughed at him and made fun of him afterwards.
I mean, he fell. I would have laughed at him too.
I wouldn't. Fuck that. There's like you look at Hulk Hogan in 1991 wearing what he's wearing in that scene and be like, I'm not going to interact with that guy at all.
His wardrobe in the movie is
God
so
knows
bad.
what he's going to do. He's obviously crazy. See what he did to the Paperboy?
Yeah, he bended time and space to throw a newspaper.
Mailman screaming bloody murder. I was just trying to be nice. Be like, do you want to try my skateboard?
You can have it, man. Just don't eat me.
Yeah, right. But at least then Hogan gets to meet the Colonel.
Oh.
And then we get the traffic scene again.
I'm convinced it's the exact same reel.
It is. It totally is. I went back and checked. It's like the second Joker in the deck of scenes of this fucking movie.
I hate you, Craig. So much.
He's the producer. He's trying to make us fail.
He's not the producer, okay? He's not.
We'll see what Craig has to say about that. Charlie returns home again, blocked out of the driveway yet again by the cars, and Shep decides to move one of them because it's not right. I do have to say, though, I did like when Charlie pulled up and the Colonel's like, ooh, it's time for the Charlie Wilcox show. I love the Colonel. One of my favorite characters, not my favorite performance. The neighbors threaten Shep. Do you want to go over the threat?
I don't have it written down word for word, but I mean, Shep being the guy who wants to help everybody, sees it, says this isn't right, and essentially just picks up the vehicle by the front end and rolls it out of the way. Actually, pretty gently, all things considering.
Oh, very gingerly.
So that, Charlie can park in his driveway.
Yep.
At which point, all of these guys essentially surround him and say, do you know what we're going to do to you if we find even one little scratch on that car? And Shep goes into some ridiculous thing about, I don't know, ripping his eyes out and feeding them to raccoons or wild boars or something stupid. Essentially a physical threat. And the guy's like, what?
Oh, I have the quote right here.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Deke. He says, do you have any idea what we're going to do to you if we find one itty-bitty scratch on him? And Shep says, let me guess. You're going to pound my face, break every bone in my body. Then you're going to drag me across a gravel road and feed my remains to a warthog. Is that about right? To which Deke responds, what are you, nuts? This is the 90s. We're going to sue you. That still makes me laugh to this day. It made me laugh then too, even though I didn't understand it as a child.
And then his one lackey says, you're going to hear from our lawyer. It's like, am I? You didn't even check it for a scratch yet. You said if there's a scratch, look at it. I'm just going to wait until the middle of the night, shoot it with a futuristic space gun, and you won't seem to care, I guess.
No, just go back in time.
Yeah, well, apparently he could throw newspapers with no time actually passing by, but
That's fine. Well, what we don't know is that Deke also has a DeLorean in the garage.
So then the next thing we see is the kid skateboarding down the street.
Mark skateboarding
with
down the
the
street.
two stoner guys who, I guess, drive around through the town, through the streets. Presumably this is a common occurrence, like essentially heading right for them. And apparently can't see them because they're distracted pointing out that somebody lives at one of these houses.
Yep.
Which really makes me think not both of them would take their eyes off the road for that long, but whatever. It sets up another valiant scene where Shep saves the kid from being run over by this car.
Yes. But at the same time, we're led to believe this happens on a daily basis because they almost hit Charlie the day before.
So they're never paying attention when they drive their car.
No. But I find it funny then that they're both stoked that they point out that somebody they both know lives in that house on that street. You're like, yeah, you're on the street
drive
every
down
day.
the street every single day.
Every single day.
This is like the awards in the boss's office. It's the one guy turns to the other. He's like, I know. You tell me this every day for the last 3 years. I know.
We've been talking about this movie for way too long, and we have so much more to go through, dude.
I know.
All right, let's go through this. Charlie, actually not Charlie, but Shep saves Mark, chases them down, flips the car, pulls them out, and Charlie stops him from beating the shit out of them. And one of my favorite scenes is after Shep agrees not to hurt them, he just grabs one end of the car and spins it on its roof. It's a great
I would
visual.
much rather see him beat the shit out of these guys.
Family film, dude. Family film.
I don't care.
The Wilcox family then presents Shep with a chocolate cake as a thank you. He somehow forgot how to eat. He was using utensils before, except for when he had a bun in one hand. Here he just grabs a chunk of cake and just bites it. And they agreed to take a family photo. And this makes no sense whatsoever.
Shelley Duvall in this scene is like, quick, get a camera. Like, as if they're like trying to, get a picture of a wild squirrel that they're trying to like feed before they scare him away. So, he's just sitting there eating the cake. He's not going anywhere.
Oh, that's fine. He looks on edge completely. Like, I would think the same thing. Like, we're getting this crazy dude who we don't really know, who's surprisingly violent and has laser guns under his bed, who just flipped a car over after saving our son, who's also able to lift a car with next to no effort whatsoever. We're feeding him fucking chocolate at night, which is probably a horrible idea. Get this on camera now before he snaps. But the camera angle makes no sense. You noticed this, right?
Oh, the picture that they get is absolutely not anywhere where the camera is actually facing.
Not even that, but where the camera is set up, the forefront that they're going to see in the picture
is the chairs.
2 chairs. That's blocking the entire shot.
That's what I meant. I just didn't verbalize it very well.
Well, no, what you said is true, because when the camera flashes and takes that photo, we get the freeze frame from the perspective of the audience, which is off to the right. So the photo we see is of everybody looking to the left of the audience, which just doesn't make any sense. Moving on.
Please do.
Shep's out for a run and stops a purse snatching. Throws the guy in a dumpster. Okay. I don't know why we then get a scene of him setting off a car alarm. And as he punches it and rips it out of the car, it eventually pleads for forgiveness, pleads for its life, and then eventually has the classic early 90s, late 80s quote of, "I've fallen and I can't get up."
That is a sentient car alarm. I would be worried about Skynet.
Yeah, right. But that scene really pissed me off. I hate that fucking line. But then I forgot about it. Completely forgot about it.
No purpose in this movie whatsoever.
And it's wiped out of your mind perfectly by the next scene, or next encounter, I should say, where Shep meets the Mime for the first time. Mime doing the classic stuck in a box routine. For some reason, at night in an alley with no spectators. Because
lots of money to be made there.
Mime's got a mime, man.
Yeah.
And Shep is just looking around him. And Mime's doing a great job ignoring him. Super focused on what he's doing. And Shep just goes, must be a K7 force field. I'll get you out of there. And then just cracks him in the face. And when you and I watched this together when you were here, we both burst out laughing. This might have been the funniest part of the movie.
Easily. By a long shot.
And then that's just it. Then we move on. I'm like, okay, perfect. That was perfect comedic timing. Well done.
There is so many scenes in this movie that are just random one-offs that are supposed to be jokes but have no impact on the movie whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I've got a little bit of trivia for you. The guy that plays the mime has played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Has played Michael Myers in Halloween.
Okay.
And Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay.
I don't know any other person that's played those three.
But more importantly, he played the mime in Suburban Commando.
Oh, it's a standout role for sure.
Easily.
I love that mime. Sorry. Anyway, the whole time, like Charlie's followed him all the way to the landing pad. Shep enters an arcade, gets caught up in the game the kid's playing, somehow beats the game into submission.
It's just Afterburner.
Yeah.
And he's going on about like photons and shit that's not in the game. And yes, the machine just dies from him playing it too well.
It gives up complete.
It waves
like
a white flag.
A white flag.
I hate this movie.
It's, yeah. And you remember that moment of pure laughter we had with the mime?
Yeah, it's completely negated any goodwill that has caused.
Oh, in the next scene, that's what happens, because he finds the mime again. This time, the mime is climbing an imaginary ladder, and Shep thinks he's trying to, get further up to a building, and he decides to help him out by grabbing him and throwing him up onto a ledge.
Okay, I'm done with this movie.
That ruined the first mime scene.
Yeah, and they go back to the well again later on.
Yeah. Anyway, Charlie discovers the ship and the power suit, complete with blinking codpiece for some fucking reason. He puts it on and stops what I hope is a mugging, but looks like a potential rape. I mean, it's a kid's film, man. Like, they're obviously dragging her off somewhere. There's nobody else around. It's very disturbing. But Charlie, trying to be the hero, yells to let the woman go in the least convincing strongman voice I've ever heard. There's a tussle. He gets shot, once?
I don't know.
He gets shot, falls over, and turtles for some reason. He can't get up, but has to press some buttons on the suit, and eventually it flips him over, and it makes him do the worm. Okay. Anyway, he drops one of the guns, which remains powered on, and alerting the bounty hunters to Shep's whereabouts on Earth. Shep freaks out about the neighborhood being too loud in a weird throwaway scene where he just walks outside of the apartment and yells, "Quiet," and all the neighborhood noises stop except for a cricket, which he then intimidates. And I'm super confused at this point because this makes no sense.
I like how you say in a throwaway scene. That's been the last 15 minutes of the movie.
That's a very good point. It really has been. So then just randomly cuts to him walking down the street, and he stops to help a girl played by Elizabeth Moss, a young child, Elizabeth Moss, helps her to get her cat out of a tree, kind of.
But it's not her cat.
Yeah, she's crying. He grabs the tree branch and pulls it down, which is not how trees work, but that's fine. And then she says, "That's not my cat." So he just lets it go and slingshots the cat off into oblivion.
Ha ha ha.
Oh, you thought that was funny? Well,
no,
next time
I didn't.
He goes to...
This movie's broken
He goes
man.
to a little fruit and veg shop where he sees an old lady squeezing melons, and she tells him the ripe ones are the best, and you have to feel them The softer ones are the riper ones. So he picks one up and just crushes it in his hand, sending melon pulp everywhere.
Oh, I get it. He's strong.
It's funny.
How many times have we had to establish that? He's strong. Yay.
And the thing here is, this is another example where he goes back and forth between being a weirdly intense monster and a complete fucking idiot. Like, there's no balance. There's no
monsters can be idiots, Ben.
Okay, competent monster.
Debatable, but okay.
All right. And then he encounters the mime
credits
again.
roll. Please tell me that the credits roll.
No. We get the mime man.
Oh,
And
it worked so well twice. Might as well do it a third time.
Just runs away. He's pulling an imaginary rope. He's like, you keep the rope, and just runs away. Well, the one good joke in the movie they just destroyed. Back at the ship, Shep sees the bounty hunters are after him, notices that the gun is missing, and he goes to Charlie's work, where I do have to say there's that one scene that's also in the trailer that I laughed at, and that was, you're going to have to take a seat. You hate this. So what does he do? What does he do? What does he do? That's what the movie's done to me, man. What does he do?
He picks up the chair like he's taking it somewhere.
Exactly.
It's like a child wrote this movie.
Do you know what else this child wrote?
I know.
Constantine. A significantly better film. Anyway. Adrian opens the office door to let the his potential Japanese clients out, and they see Shep and start bowing at him. And he looks so confused that he just keeps bowing and bowing.
As he's still holding the bench.
As he's holding the bench. So that gag's over, thank God. Charlie comes clean about his discovery, and they go find the gun. Charlie tries to unlock the car door, but has trouble, so Shep just rips it off of the car entirely, but then goes around to the passenger door and just opens it because it's unlocked. Okay. I don't even think that was intentional. I can hear you. I've never heard you breathe angrily before.
This movie broke me, man. I can't even enjoy it by ripping it apart anymore.
But this part you can enjoy because they use something from a better movie. They used
I looked it up in the trivia, and that legit is a PKE meter.
They use a PKE meter from Ghostbusters to track down the gun at a local bank. Where
Charlie even turns to him and says, if you had this thing, why didn't we use it earlier to track down the gun? And in the brilliant stroke of genius that is the writing in this movie, Hogan just looks at him and goes, shut up.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
This is the explanation we get. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it's at the bank where the two muggers, hopefully not rapists, that Charlie encountered have used the gun to freeze the patrons and steal money. Shep and Charlie stop the robbery, but Charlie's frozen just before the bounty hunters arrive.
It is such a good thing that Hogan had that antifreeze.
I intentionally left that out. That is one of the worst things ever.
One of the worst parts of this already terrible movie.
Okay, I have to stop us there because obviously you and I do not like this movie.
Obviously.
But that is because we are watching it with a critical eye. If you can just let this shit slide and enjoy it for what it is.
No.
This is a really entertaining kids film.
No.
I disagree, it is.
No, it's not.
Okay, moving on. I can hear you laughing. Okay, so Shep picks up the frozen Charlie and runs out of the bank. And if he was frozen solid, like you can see him bending, like he's gonna fucking snap and Charlie's dead.
Well, that would be a very different movie from the kids' movie now, wouldn't it?
Well, he's holding him over one shoulder, right? So he's got the shoulder right in like his midsection, which acts as a fulcrum for that pivot, right? So
you are overthinking this way too much.
It's basic physics. He's gonna snap with any decent force put on him.
This is the problem that you have with this movie.
No, actually, I have more of a problem later, and that's him standing upright in the car. But before we get to that point, we get the bounty hunters in the car that's all decked out with the just married ornaments or whatever they are, tassels and bows and sign and everything, at the Surf and Burger drive-thru. Why?
Sight gag.
Exactly. Because why would they steal that car?
Sight gag.
Why would they go to a drive-thru?
Sight gag.
Yep. And nothing comes from it. They blow up the speaker board. That's it.
Yeah.
Shep fucks up his ship trying to fix it and decides they have to fight the bounty hunters. And I
hope the bounty hunters win.
I found it hilarious that he's like, we're going to use you as a decoy. Like, no second thoughts. He's like, all right, Charlie, a decoy. Charlie freaks out at Shep for putting his family in danger as, a realistic reaction. But then realizes the crystals that Shep needs for his ship are the same that Adrian has in his office.
How convenient.
I mean, you could use simian crystals for anything nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the office party because it's a party. And who got Hulk a tux?
It's one of Charlie's old ones.
Okay. When he was taller and ripped.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
The crystals aren't in the office, though. They're upstairs in the new wing.
Why?
It's not a wing. It's not a fucking wing. It's a floor. It's not like they built an extension jutting off to the side of the building. Anyway, I'm sorry. Bounty hunters land in their giant...
You shouldn't be sorry.
Tree.
Craig should be sorry.
Are you sorry, Craig? I don't hear anything. I don't think he's sorry. But Charlie and Shep try to steal the crystals, but the bounty hunters arrive. Iron bar bending scene is what I wrote. Do you want to explain what happens?
No.
Explain what happens.
No.
Fine.
I want to boycott this movie.
We're almost done. Just take a breath. Shep hits one of the bounty hunters with this iron bar. Second time, the bounty hunter catches it, bends it, hands it to the other bounty hunter, who straightens it back out, and then throws it to Shep, who then bends it into the form of a bunny rabbit.
Ha ha ha.
Then we get a major fight scene, which isn't good.
No.
And then we get The Undertaker with a baby voice saying, "You're a dead man, Ramsey." And they escape. They escape. Charlie drops Shep off at the pad and heads home. Suitor's already arrived and taken the family hostage, and he forces Charlie to lead him back to Shep. Shep sets his ship to self... This whole ship stuff sucks, man. Shep sets his ship to self-destruct and offers himself up in an attempt to save his surrogate family. Charlie drops his family off and returns to help him, driving his car through the wall and taking down Suitor, but it doesn't work. He puts on the arm of the power suit and grabs Suitor's balls, which cause him to shift into his true alien form. Why?
All right.
Never mind.
Comedy.
Suitor messes up Shep pretty badly before Shep knocks him into a panel, electrocuting him and causing the place to explode. Keep in mind, this panel is the one they ripped the cables out of before and really wouldn't be working properly. But the police and Wilcox's family arrive on scene. Shep tells the family that Charlie took Suitor on all by himself. Then we get a nice wrap-up of Charlie showing up to work the next day and quitting. Shep shows the kids his skateboard moves, has another confrontation with the cat girl, this time slingshotting her into the air, but saves her.
You want to talk about terrible outfits that he wears in this movie?
No.
This scene takes the cake.
Okay. Care to elaborate?
It's like multicolored patterned parachute pants with a tight blue long sleeve shirt. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just ridiculous looking. If I saw this, I would think that somebody escaped a mental institute.
I'm more offended by the fucking skateboard he gives that kid.
Because it has four wheels in the back and wouldn't turn?
Yeah, it wouldn't turn at all. But you just got to look past it, man.
All this starts with him actually going to buy an ice cream from the ice cream man.
Who just speeds off.
Which I think it's you that told me that's the Mime.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is the Mime.
Like he said, forget this to the Mime life.
Yeah.
And went back to
Man.
Ice Cream Man, yeah. I hate this movie.
Then Shep flies off in the bounty hunter's ship with Adrian's receptionist. And Charlie finally beats the traffic light and then shoots it. Because...
That's a felony.
Yeah. It makes no sense. There are other lights.
I'm all for you becoming somebody that, has somewhat of a backbone, but you're crossing lines now, man.
And, well, it's your favorite part, dude. The credits.
Oh, thank the heavens that this is over.
I'm very happy we've adopted this new way of doing this podcast because that was only 5 pages of notes. Normally I have over 20. If I had to write over 20 pages of notes for this, Craig would be dead. That being said, I don't condone any violence directed towards our producer.
Well, I don't want anybody being violent against me either.
No, you're no, that's fine.
I'm the producer.
So,
all right,
you want to guess
stupid numbers?
You want to guess what the budget was?
My sanity.
No, your sanity is worth a lot less than this. No guesses?
No.
11 million.
No way.
Yep.
Where did it go?
Hogan.
To pay off PETA for the animal violence jokes?
All Hogan. And Christopher Lloyd and Shelley Duvall. I mean, really, the cast is pretty stacked. That's where all that money went. You want to know how much it made?
37.
8.
Take that, you stupid movie.
Yeah. I loved this movie when I was a kid, though, I do have to say. I watched it a lot. I don't know why, but I did. We'll go on to the ratings then. IMDb. What are you thinking?
I got it in front of me, so...
So you know it's a 4.5.
Yeah, that's like 7 too high.
That is the best of our ratings we're going to cover.
No, clearly people on IMDb don't know what they're talking about then.
What do you think about the critics on Rotten Tomatoes? Those wonderful, educated critics.
17.
Close, 15.
Oh, good, I was trying to be generous.
And the audience, I'm going to let you know, is somewhere in between.
16.
32.
Oh, between those, I thought you meant the 17 and the 15.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, very clever, Ben. Very clever.
I wish I was that clever. Let's not kid ourselves. You feeling cleansed to this movie yet? Because we're not out of the woods. We have awards.
Yeah, all right. Let's do the stupid awards.
All right. I feel bad for saying it, but worst performance?
All right. Well, I mean, we usually go with...
Oh, that's right.
This
was imposed upon us.
Yeah. So Craig submitted his worst, which I will say matches mine. He went with Hulk Hogan as Ship Ramsey.
Yep.
In typical Craig fashion, did not provide any description as to why, but I think we can all decipher why.
He's not an actor.
Right. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have revealed mine because you normally go first with worst performance.
That's okay. We're all on the same page here.
Yeah, he is terrible.
He's awful.
And I mean, you can see it in so many of the scenes. I don't even think that initial scene when he's being told to go relax and he's asking for a mission was meant to be sarcastic. I just honestly don't think he knew what the hell to do with the delivery of these lines.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
He was bad. And I think this is probably his worst movie. I looking at it through child's eyes, I still find this movie a lot of fun. You just can't look at it critically. But if you are, he is the worst part of it. What about best performance?
So I go first between you and I, so I can safely say that I agree with Craig on this one as well. And I had, as well as he did, Christopher Lloyd as Charlie Wilcox.
And he gave no reasoning again, huh?
No.
What's your reasoning?
I mean, it's Charlie Wilcox. It's Christopher Lloyd. He is fantastic in a lot of what he does. And I think he really did carry whatever was to be carried in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I have him as well. He was fantastic. A standout performance. I did have honorary mention to Larry Miller as Adrian Belts, the boss.
Yeah, I mean, you never really get a poor performance from Larry Miller at all.
No, he was a scene stealer for sure. But Christopher Lloyd took it for sure.
All right.
What was Craig's most memorable or favorite line?
Must be a K7 force field. Don't worry, I'll break you out of there. Punches Mime. Glad I could help.
Craig, you're fired. It's a mutiny.
All right, what was your...
Join me, Sandro. Let's rise up.
Well, you can't fire somebody who doesn't work for us.
I can't deal with this anymore, Sandro. I was frozen today.
Is that your line?
Of course it is.
Okay, all right. So I had something different from both of you.
Silence?
Yes. That was the best line in the movie.
Just tears.
This was after he was frozen, and they were going to come up with their plan to fight the bounty hunters. And it's mostly because of the cadence of Christopher Lloyd's delivery that actually hits home with the irony of the statement.
Okay.
Look, I'm your landlord. I bring you an extra bar of soap when you need it. Perhaps I can stop the occasional bank robbery, but being the target of intergalactic hunters is a little out of line.
That's good. That's good.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't understand the whole bringing of soap thing. There is no plumbing in that apartment.
I mean, it is still something, and not something a
Also,
landlord
what landlord
would do.
supplies soap?
Yeah. Maybe if he was running a hotel, but okay, whatever. It's still a fun line that was delivered
bring
well.
you soap and I turn the hose on.
You can wash yourself in the lawn like the animal you are. For most memorable or favorite scene, I don't know which of the two it is. Craig wrote skateboard scene where Shep whips the kid's skateboard, later to be seen by the bounty hunters in outer space. And then for me, much like Craig's favorite line, my favorite moment was the force field punch with the mime. And honestly, it would have been even that much better if they just didn't keep going back to that well.
Yeah. Agreed. If that was like a one-hit joke, perfect. But it's
What about
not,
you?
And it was ruined because of it. For me, it's more my a most memorable scene strictly out of confusion. And it's always confused me since I was a child. And again, it's Frozen Charlie, but Frozen Charlie in the car. Because he's just, like, as Shep's driving this, I don't know, is it like a Geo? Down the street.
I don't know.
He's got Frozen Charlie standing up out of the sunroof. And it, like, falls into Shep, and Shep just kind of, like, holds him upright. But, like, as he's driving, Charlie's just hitting the front and the back of the sunroof. And still, in my child mind, I'm like, he's gonna fucking snap eventually, right? And I was waiting for it. I don't know why, but I was seriously waiting for it. And even when we watched it, and then I watched it after that, and then I watched it after that, I'm like, why isn't he just snapping? That will always confuse me in this messed up movie. That is one thing I focus on. I can't explain it, but memorable scene for me.
All right, then.
Thanks, Craig.
All right. So, earlier, I mentioned that this was the 5th fan pick that Craig has suggested to us. You want to be put on the spot for a fun little game here?
I mean, yeah, always.
All right. First of all, can you remember what the 5 movies are that he recommended?
No, my brain's mush after every episode.
All right. So,
what does he pick?
I have the 5.
All right.
And I'll let you know what they are. But the activity that I would like you to try and complete is to rank them.
Oh, God. All right. Let me get some paper.
You don't need paper. There's 5 movies. You'll remember.
All right. I'm good. List them off.
All right. So I'm going to reveal them in the order of which he recommended to us from oldest to newest.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
The very first movie that he ever did for a fan pick was The Wizard. Okay?
Yep.
The second movie was our October fan pick, Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh, okay. I like that.
All right. The third one was Rad. Okay.
Okay. We're getting a bit better here. All right.
Then it was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Losing some points there. Okay.
And obviously the last one is Suburban Commando. Now, I already know my order of which I would rank these. I have it written down in that order. So why don't you kind of try to go through that exercise? And we'll see if we agree.
Are we going worst to best?
Why don't we go best to worst?
Best to worst? Okay.
I think the best is hands down an obvious choice.
Okay, I'm good.
Oh, you already wrote it down?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to do it verbally as we went, but why don't you?
It was pretty fast. Pretty fast.
Well, why don't I start with what I had as the number one and see if that jives with what you had?
All right.
For me, it was an easy pick for Rad.
Fuck yeah.
Second, I guess I'm just going to go through the list and see what you wrote down matches.
Right.
How's that? Second, I had Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Okay. Third for me would have been Spider-Man.
Yeah, no.
No?
No.
All right. Then I had The Wizard, which I also hated.
No.
And then in dead last, Suburban Commando. Because this movie might be one of the worst movies we've ever done on this show.
No. We were on par with each other for the first two, and then we just kind of parted ways.
All right, let's hear what your bottom three were.
So yes, number one, Rad. Two, Ernest Scared Stupid, which I abbreviated and is problematic because it comes out as Ernest SS. Number three, Suburban Commando.
No.
Yeah.
I think you're fired too.
Fine, do this on your own, man.
I'm not doing this on my own.
Exactly. Number four, Spider-Man. And number five, probably my most frustrating movie to cover, and a lot of people's favorites apparently, is The Wizard.
So really, all you did was move Suburban Commando from the bottom to the middle from what I had. Because I also had Spider-Man above The Wizard. Yeah. The only difference was I had Suburban Commando.
Why did you like The Wizard more than Suburban Commando? What's wrong with you?
Let me rephrase what you just said. I hated The Wizard less than I hated Suburban Commando.
That's still
I hated both the movies. I hated both of them.
And I even had Suburban Commando's a lot more fun though, man.
I even had the luxury of watching this movie the first time with you when I was in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
And it still is the worst movie that he has recommended.
No.
And if we didn't do movies like The Howling,
watch yourself.
It would be dead last on the show's history.
Shut your mouth. Craig. Suburban Commando, we ripped it apart. Sandro obviously hates it, but he's got issues. Of your picks, of your five, it's right in the middle for me. It's really fun childhood memories of watching this movie. It kind of should have stayed that way, unfortunately. It's a hard watch as an adult, dude.
I'm not even going to do a final sum up of my thoughts on it. I think that's pretty clear.
So we both recommend it. Sick. Craig, look at you, man. I think we recommended Ernest Scared Stupid, Rad. I don't know about Spider-Man.
Why do you keep saying Spider-Man?
It's funny when you say that.
Is that the opposite of Spider-Max?
Yeah. Get me Spider-Man! The Wizard, I mean, fuck it.
All right.
But so become. Yeah, I don't know. I would recommend it, especially to people who haven't seen it before. It's probably going to be a hoot and holler, but I don't know. It's a solid kids movie, man, and it really shouldn't be anything more than that. It doesn't hold up, but I mean, it was 1991. Times changed.
You know what else came out in 1991?
Don't.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
I said don't. It's not a kids movie. It doesn't matter.
I don't care. Look at the quality of these two. Anyway.
What was the budget for Terminator 2?
I don't know. Good. Anyways.
No. There's no anyways. I'm looking it up right now. You can't just drop that and use it as an argument and then not back it up. It's like, what do you mean the connection's not... Oh, God damn it. All right. $102 million. The hell are you trying to do, man? It doesn't work.
Oh, I hate this movie so much.
All right. We'll move on. I recommend it. Sandra does not. Fine.
All right. So you can hit us up on social media if you want to share your thoughts with us. We're on Twitter at BSBargainBin, Facebook.com/BSBargainBin, or you can leave a comment on YouTube in the comments section of whatever video it is that you would like to comment on. I am really worried that moving forward, people are just going to be trying to get us with these fan picks.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
by the way,
up.
Ernest Scared Stupid also came out in 1991.
It's a good movie.
That being said,
It's probably the second best of Craig's picks.
no fan pick next week, thankfully. So, Ben,
Yes.
what is it that we are watching next week?
Next week, we are watching 1986's Night of the Creeps.
All right. Until then, have a good one, guys.
All the best, guys.
The night of the fall is finally here for Chris, Cindy, and JC. It's going to be the best night of their lives. But tonight is also the night of the creeps. From a world unknown comes a nightmare unimagined. First, they are under you, around you, on you, and then inside you.
They get in through your mouth, and you walk around while they incubate, even if you're dead.
They are a new breed of terror.
Freeze!
They are a different kind of horror.
Zombies, exploding heads, creepy crawlies. We could have a little problem.
The creeps are taking over.
I got good news and bad news, girls.
The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
You have never had a night like this. Night of the creeps. If you scream, you're dead.